people, Nonner?
Ah, yes, the little people. But only if you promise to listen closely and to tell your grandchildren someday, as my grandmother told me.
Oh, we will, Nonner. Of course we will.
Long ago, this land of Mohegan was a very different place. Deer, bear, and wolves roamed the forest. The skies were dark with flocks of birds, and the rivers and seas were thick with fish. There were plants for eating and making medicine. People and animals lived in harmony, and good spirits were everywhere. Among those good spirits were the little people. They were many, but they were very shy and only appeared at night. When the full moon rose over the pine trees, people would listen extra hard for the call of the whippoorwill. You see, little people can assume the shape of any animal, although most often they prefer to move through the woodlands in the form of the whippoorwill. The old-time Mohegans took great care not to stare at the tiny ones. If a human were foolish enough to stare, the little people would simply point a finger, and that silly human would become rooted to the ground, unable to move. The little people would then take the belongings from the foolish human, since little people do not like rudeness. There were also many good humans. The good people would bring small baskets filled with gifts of corn cakes and berries for the little people. Then, late at night, the little people would move silently throughout the woods to gather the gifts. The little people wore tiny moccasin flowers upon their feet. The Mohegans named them Makiawisug, which means whippoorwill moccasins. In return for the gifts that they received, the little people brought good medicine. Humans lived well. There was a time of peace, a time of plenty, until one day an old chief was looking out across the great water toward the sunrise. He saw a great white bird coming toward him. Its huge white wings were outspread, and it seemed to be moving on the surface of the water. The old chief hurried back to the village to tell his people of the great white bird. As it came nearer, the chief saw that it was a boat with pale men, and he was fearful for his people. In a short time, these pale strangers turned everything upside down. The deer and bears, the wolves, and other wild creatures left the land. The pale strangers did not respect or honor the land. The Mohegans also changed their ways, and now many forgot to make offerings to the little people. It was in the beginning of this time of bad spirits that I was born. More pale strangers came, and more Mohegans forgot the ways of the past, and the earth got sicker. I became a medicine woman, hoping that we could once again have good spirits. A stormy darkness had filled the sky for many sleeps. Then, on one such stormy night, I heard the call of a whippoorwill near my door. I thought that it was strange that a whippoorwill would be out in such a storm, so I opened the door to peek outside. There, in the pine tree outside my door, I thought that I saw a whippoorwill. Just then, the wind blew my eyes shut. When I opened them, the bird was gone. Sitting in the pine tree outside my door was a small boy.
Someone is sick.
I grabbed my medicine pouch and filled it with herbs, corn, and tobacco, a turtle shell rattle, a mask, a mortar and pestle, and a turkey feather fan. I then followed the boy out the door. Once outside, the storm seemed to become less severe as we walked. But it was still so dark that I could see nothing. I can't see my way.
Do not be afraid. I am Makiawis. You may look at me. I am called Wreckless. This storm is caused by Moshep the giant. He is angry because people have forgotten the spirits of the woodlands. And this makes our elder, Granny Squannet, very ill. She is Moshep's wife. If we don't make Granny Squannet better, Moshep will stay angry and wash away the earth. We must hurry, Martha Uncas.
Wreckless took my hand. I felt safe. We were just a short distance from the cabin when I saw the ground stir. A little figure sprang from the earth and startled me. Before I could blink my eyes, Wreckless had drawn his knife and leapt between the intruder and me. Suddenly, a lightning bolt lit the sky, and Wreckless began to laugh.
Don't be alarmed. This is my sister's son, Benchfeather. When my sister fell ill, she did not get well again. Before she left this world, I promised that I would teach him the ways of the woodlands. His power is very strong. He can see things before they happen, but he has much to learn about controlling it.
We walked for hours. We came upon a place in the forest where the pale strangers were cutting down all of the trees to build ships so that they could bring even more people to this land. We could hear the men chopping down still more trees with their axes.
Soon there will be no forest left. I will scare these pale strangers away.
No, Uncle. I can do this.
Adi body. Wait here.
Before my eyes, Wreckless turned into a huge wolf. The Wreckless wolf took off in the direction of the woodcutters, howling in a circle in the woods around the men, making them think that there were many wolves. The men dropped their axes and ran from that place. We came upon a cliff where the river flowed deeply. Because the pale strangers had taken all of the beaver from this part of the land, there was no beaver dam to cross upon. Wreckless took my hand and he leapt from the cliff, and I leapt with him. Wreckless took the shape of a hawk. Wreckless spread his wings and took flight. Clutching me by the shoulders, he carried me to the other side of the river.
I think I swallowed a worm.
On the other side of the river, the going was slow. We descended into a low-lying, swampy area. After a time, Wreckless' movements became more anxious and agitated. He made an urgent gesture for everyone to stop. "What is it?"
Shh! Foxfire.
Now I had heard tales of the dark forest. It was home to the foxfire, evil, supernatural spirits of the woodlands that brought only bad medicine.
We must move quickly through this place of bad power. Bad spirits are very strong here. Even the pale woodcutters fear the foxfire.
I didn't think there was anything that you feared, Uncle.
Only a fool lives with no fear. Bravery is about facing fear, not denying it.
I spread some tobacco around to keep the bad spirits from following us. Then we moved on. After a while, Mohegan became more relaxed, even happy. We were entering the old forest, a powerful place. Here, the trees were very large and ancient. I could hear the calls of whippoorwill and could hear little people moving through the undergrowth and trees. I didn't dare look upon them for fear that they would point at me and root me to the ground. Mohegan told me that it was fine for me to look, as they knew that I was there to help. So I looked and noticed that some of the little people were in human form and some of them had taken the shapes of forest animals. We came upon a clearing in the forest. As we moved to enter the clearing, two large oak trees moved their branches to block the path. Mohegan gestured with his hand, and the tree branches quickly moved back. At the opposite end of the clearing stood an ancient tree. There was an opening in the base of the tree. Mohegan led us in through the opening. The path led down underneath the tree. I had to bend down so that I wouldn't hit my head. The walls were made from large flat stones and were covered with ancient images. There were piles of glass bottles and shiny brass pots and kettles that had been taken from big people that had rudely stared at the little people. After a short distance, the tunnel opened into a large cavern. Inside the cavern, Mohegan led me through an entire village of little people. As we walked through the village, the little people stopped what they were doing and looked at me with hope in their eyes. We headed toward a beehive-shaped chamber at the far end of the cavern. When we entered the chamber, I saw a tiny old woman. She was lying on a bed. I knew she was a powerful woman, and I covered my eyes with my hands, afraid to look at her.
I am Ponima.
This is Granny Squannet. She must be made well.
I was nervous to be in the presence of the great Granny Squannet. Even in illness, I could feel her power. I set a small basket in front of Granny. I put a leather pouch with corn in the basket. Next, I lit the end of a braid of sweetgrass and waved the smoke over Granny with a turkey feather fan. I then crushed bone-set leaves with my mortar and pestle. I gave this to Granny in a drink mixed with skunk oil and molasses from a turtle shell cup. It was then time to put on my mask, shake my rattle, and pray. I treated Granny for many sleeps. She sent Wreckless to tell Moshop that she was feeling better. What is it?
We are in danger. Use your power and do what must be done. A great celebration took place.
Granny Squannet told me of many healing herbs. She told me to always remember the little people with gifts from our offering baskets. Then Panema gave me a special gift basket.
What was in the basket, Nana?
Oh, there were many gifts in the basket. There were clear quartz crystals and painted skins, along with bunches of herbs. Underneath the herbs was this beautiful velvet belt. This belt no longer fits me. Perhaps it now fits you, flying bird.